GTA Vice City came out in 2002, so it's been 23 years since the game first released. But even after all that time, the game still has some things that it does better than most modern games. And today I'm going to show you my top 3 things that I would like modern games to look at and say, alright, maybe we can look at that game and adapt some of those points. So let me share you my 3 things that a game from 2002 did better than most modern games. So the first and very important thing that the game does is the pacing and the length. In one sentence, GTA Vice City does not waste your time. The missions are tied to the point and you're never overloaded with filler content. All of the things that you do in the game kind of feel like they're actually worth doing. You know, most modern games would literally stretch the same content that GTA Vice City has in order to hit 70-80 hours of playing time, while most of it is just doing some bullshit work. I mean, how many games have we played in recent years where a lot of the things that we gotta do is go there, pick something up, do that, stuff that's very unnecessary and doesn't really feel like it's worth of our time. But the pacing in GTA Vice City, which is not the longest game, it took me 24 hours to complete it with all of the main quests and side quests, but it really doesn't want to waste your time and it doesn't want to give you stuff that is just completely unnecessary and will just feel like a time waster like most modern games do. And this way the story and the missions are much more memorable than if the game would be stretched out for 100 hours, because all of this great content that you see is literally put into 24 hours, and so you have a lot of emotional spikes and emotional connections within those 24 hours. But if it would be stretched out for 70-80 hours and it would be full with filler content, those couple of great things that we have witnessed while playing GTA Vice City wouldn't feel as great because there would be so much bullshit in between. So the pacing and the length is definitely something that I would wish most developers would look at and say, alright, we need to do our games like this. The second thing that I gotta talk about is the atmosphere and the vibe. I already talked about the open world, but this one is a bit different. GTA Vice City is one of the most atmospheric games that I've played in recent years. You know, the neon-soaked 80s aesthetic, the radio stations, the story immersion, it really creates a sense of a place that many modern games can't replicate, you know. I mean, while driving through the open world, with all the lighting, with the cars, with the radio stations, as I said, it's just such a vibe. It really fits this Miami Vice vibe perfectly. And they really thought a lot about how to implement stuff like the soundtrack, which in this case are the radio stations, or the map in general, in order to create the perfect atmosphere. And like, the atmosphere is completely different when you, for example, go through Little Haiti, which is a much poorer part of the city than compared to Washington Beach, or when you're going through the city center. They really put a big emphasis on creating this great vibe in the city and this atmosphere that people won't forget. And sometimes I literally found myself just driving around with really no destination, just because the vibe and the views, I mean, look at that, was absolutely magnificent. And the open world, as I said, I'll talk about that in my third point. But the atmosphere, I know there are some memes nowadays that say like main menus from earlier games are more atmospheric than most modern games. But in that case, I mean, show me a game that came out in the last couple of years that is more atmospheric than this one. It's really tough to find. And I know there are some great games, but the atmospheres, I feel, are really neglected. And I would really love if more games would be more atmospheric, so that we just wanna drive in the car, we just wanna go somewhere without really having a destination. That's something that GTA Vice City did, which was absolutely incredible for me. And the last thing is regarding the open world, but not the open world in general. I'm talking about a memorable open world. GTA Vice City's map is unlike most modern games. It's not bloated. Vice City's small scale made every single street recognizable and iconic. After 10-15 hours playing the game, I didn't need the map anymore. Obviously, if I had to go somewhere, I needed to check where I had to go, But if some character said to me that I need to go to this place or that I need to go to this area, I knew where I had to go, simply because the game doesn't feel as bloated. Most modern games fill they do their cities, let's say 5 times the size of Vice City, but put the same amount of content in them. Really nothing that you can do, and you spend 5 hours in the same area. But in Vice City, it really feels like you get all of the great things out from this open world. Obviously, a lot of the locations are intertwined with the story, so you have to go to those locations either way. But for example, a feeling that I already had in San Andreas, like there are parts in Los Santos, for example, I have seen maybe 5% only from the story. Or in San Fierro, that's the same way. But in Vice City, I can literally go from point A to point B without a minimap because it was so recognizable and so iconic. And that doesn't mean that I want all open world games to have the size of Vice City. I want them to really put thought into the size of those games, and also to make those streets and those locations recognizable. And I mean, if you just look at the open world, obviously it doesn't compare to most modern games, but just the sheer memorability of the open world and how the story kind of fleshed into the world was done perfectly, in my opinion. They really nailed that point absolutely well. You know a lot of the locations just by playing the main story, and it isn't as if you just visit 10% of the map. You really see almost everything there is. That was something that, as I told you, in most modern games, if you really think about it, you maybe visit 30-40% of the open world, like properly, maybe even less. But in this game, it's impossible because you have so many locations that you need to go to. You have so many different locations that the world sends you. It's not like you have 10 locations in the game where you need to drive from there to there. You have like 10 locations that you can buy, so obviously that's the way you gotta go there. You've got some story missions that literally show you the world themselves. That was something that I really want to see more in modern games. That the games are not just, you know, bloated, but actually memorable. That the story shows you the open world itself. And I'm interested in your opinions on Vice City. And are there any other things that you can think of that the game did better than most modern games? I would be really interested in hearing your opinions. I mean, I gotta say, those things that I just listed, they did that a lot better than I've seen in the recent games that I've played. Obviously, I'm not the guy that's to say that, yeah, all modern games are bad and the older games were good, but those things that I just mentioned, I mean, you really cannot deny it. Show me a game that has the pacing of Vice City that came out in the last 5 years. It's almost impossible. The game literally doesn't want to spend, doesn't want to waste your money, but that's also probably because they didn't want to charge, or they couldn't charge $60 for a game like that. And if a game is 70 hours long, for example, it's way more obvious that they're going to charge $60 than if it's 24 hours long, obviously. But tell me your opinions on this game and things that it did better than most modern games. Alright guys, that was it from me in today's video. I wish you all an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.